video, I'm going to demonstrate two-stage allocation predetermined overhead rates. So versus having one overhead rate, which we often knew as a plant-wide predetermined overhead rates, we're going to divide the overhead into two different categories. Sometimes you might also know this as departmental overhead rates, same type of concept. So the belief is overhead is driven two different ways. One is material handling, driven based upon direct material costs. The other is fabrication, which they believe is driven by direct labor costs. So first we need to do our separate predetermined overhead rates before we jump in and apply that overhead to our two different types of laptop cases, which are plastic and leather. So for our material handling, we're going to take our total material handling overhead of $198,000 divided by our total direct material cost, irrespective of which case, of $440,000. That's going to give us a percentage because we're taking cost divided by cost. We would get 0.45, which means 45% of direct materials cost. That's how we're going to apply our material handling overhead. Very similar for our fabrication overhead. We're going to take our fabrication overhead costs of $140,000 divided by our direct labor total costs, irrespective of the type of case, of $100,000. That would give us 1.4 or 140% of direct labor costs is how we're going to apply our fabrication overhead. Now that we have our rates of 45% for material handling and 140% of direct labor cost for our fabrication, let's go ahead and apply that overhead to our two different cases. So for plastic, to apply our material handling, we're going to take our direct material cost of $180,000 times our overhead rate of 45% and apply $81,000 of direct material related or material handling overhead to plastic. For our fabrication or direct related overhead, we're going to take that rate of 140% and multiply it times our direct labor cost for plastic of $60,000, which is $84,000 of fabrication overhead. So $84,000 plus $81,000 is $165,000 total of overhead applied to plastic. Similar for leather, 45% times the material cost for leather of $260,000 is material handling overhead of $117,000 applied to leather. 140% times direct labor costs of $40,000 for leather is $56,000 of direct labor related or fabrication overhead. Again, $56,000 plus $117,000 is $173,000 total overhead applied to leather.